We have only 40 minutes with really awesome people that we already, some of them we met today, but I would like to invite on the stage all the panelists, Baiba Kaškine from CERT Latvia, Jonas Skardinskas from CERT Lithuania. We already met the head of cyber coordination, Christian Dehunia, and Vaidas Bieliņas from Samsung Lithuania, and also Andrius Januta from Nord Security Lithuania. So, I'm inviting you all on the stage. Yes. Hello. Hello. That was very fast. I want to spend my time talking to you. We have a lot of questions. And everyone else here are invited to ask questions. We have microphones that you can use to raise a hand or have your question. We have 5 panelists, 40 minutes. That's not a lot for 5 panelists, but as I said, you're all invited to ask questions. We have a great group of people. And the first question, the projections of cybersecurity, what trends are developing? Some of you in the presentations, they already, Andrius pictured some of them, but maybe we could start with Jonas. Jonas, as you're seeing, is representing the CERT Lithuania. And what would be the trends you would mention now in the cybersecurity?
Well, I think it would be good to start, first of all, with the current situation. So I think that war in Ukraine changed a lot of perception in cybersecurity. And personally, I witness much more attention from companies, from also individuals to cybersecurity as such. And even though we see that the overall landscape, threat landscape is developing and more threats we are facing at the moment, but also the money and the attention that the cybersecurity gets helps to keep this field kind of leveled and let us as cyber defenders stay in the race.
And what are the questions that companies are asking you? What are the main concerns?
Well, they are more and more concerned about the digital assets. Mm-hmm. Previously, they were so focused on the physical assets of what they own physically, and somehow all the information they produce, all the digital assets they own and digital assets they produce, they kind of were left out of scope. So what we see now that more and more companies and individuals understand that sometimes their digital assets surpass their physical ones. And these digital assets need protection, which is a bit different from the physical ones.
Thank you. I need to ask the same question to the Baiba Kaškine, which is representing Latvian CERT. What would be your answer about trends? Do you also get attention and tension from businesses or from, I don't know, players in other roles?
Yes, thank you. Well, I fully agree with what was said. Indeed, last year has brought a lot of attention to cybersecurity in general and to us as well. But not to repeat what was said, I would like to mention that one of the trends is, of course, to be more proactive, to go out for threat hunting rather than wait for incident to occur and to have certain already damages done. So this is one thing which we are trying to do ourselves, and we are motivating also our constituents to be more proactive. And of course I cannot skip and not mention all the interesting things that are coming up with the artificial intelligence and extensive use of that. And I don't know if we go into more details, but I think there is a lot of interesting things coming up with that.
Yes, and I've heard that everyone is preparing those presentations and going to conferences already on these topics. But I must say that Jonas previously asked me a question: do I feel safe, and who is responsible for my safety when it comes to the cyber safety? And I would like to ask the same question to the audience. Who thinks that you are individually responsible for your cyber safety? Yes, half of you. Who thinks that institutions are responsible for your cyber safety? All right. I answered it's 50-50 because I'm also reading, the newsletters from European Parliament and seeing how this is how European Parliament is taking care of our safety, what they're doing, what they can. But what would be those trends? Maybe I could ask you as a representative of the European Commission, what do you think? What are the future trends of cybersecurity? You mentioned some of them in your last slides. There were more threats rather than trends. But what would you name as the trends of cybersecurity, let's say next year, 2 or 3?
That's better. Yeah, I think there's much more political awareness of cybersecurity. It was a very kind of niche technical area 5 years ago, and now you hear ministers talk about cybersecurity in a genuinely sort of intelligent way, and within the Commission, it's almost as if there's a cybersecurity is kind of within the responsibilities of several different commissioners, and that's because it touches all of the digital space and security as well, and it even branches across into the area of human rights and individual freedom to do what they want and be who they are online. So I think the trend is that it will become a real mainstream public policy concern in a similar way to how privacy and data protection has with the adoption of the GDPR.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Vaidas Bielinis from Samsung Lithuania. What would be trends you would mention coming from the digital industry?
Yeah, so actually you mentioned state and then individuals.
Yes.
So very good point. And also business is, here as well.
Triangle, yes.
Yeah, triangle. And as a global company, we really do actions locally. And actually, we talk about, as you mentioned, war, but actually this whole trend about cyber life and cyber security, popularity and everything happened even before the war. Because during COVID, I don't know how other businesses, but we experienced a major shift. How we are going actually mobile everywhere, and the workplace is mobile. People are mobile, and everything goes mobile. So we call it enterprise or organizational mobility. And it consists of mobile people, firstly, then mobile devices, and mobile data. And that's why we have such an intersection of different, challenges in each of this, of this area. And that's why actually business is taking so much part in educating the market, also educating consumers and trying to be a part of not the game, but about, really change the paradigm in even state level thinking.
Thank you. Andrius, I let you rest for a while after your presentation, and now I hope you had some ideas in your mind about trends in cybersecurity in the next years you could share.
I guess we can look at the trends from the attack perspective or from the solution perspective. But let's say in the cyber threat generations, we're now in generation 6. We're currently now at generation 5, where attack vector is the payload, and the defense mechanism is behavior analysis. And generation 6, we're not sure whether we are at this moment or not. But the defense mechanism for generation 6 will be nano security or implant security. And I guess I would say one example could be Samsung Knox, where you have a hardware-based security in itself on the physical layer, and having IoT devices now being very popular. We cannot rely on the traditional security solutions to mitigate potential threats. We have to go into this so-called nano security because the devices are getting smaller. So you have to implement and embed the security solutions within the device. And what the EU is also proposing with all these acts and everything, improving security of software products, it's actually quite good, and this was needed a long time ago. But it's better now than never, and hopefully this will also have a positive impact on providing a better software and security.
Yeah, can I also thank you and add one thing here? Actually, my colleague Phil already mentioned that this end-to-end point security is also our top of mind now actually topic. But I just want to give you an example why it's end-to-end point, because I have also a mobile device as a natural thing. And what does it do now? It is both mobile key of the car, it is my home key. Here I have a business card, I have my own credit card, everything is here. And to be really not only socially responsible, but to be safe, both individually and as a company, I must secure this endpoint. And really, we are thankful that actually all market players, both state and also private businesses, they now treat it as a top priority. This is also our top priority as well.
Well, two years ago, I did a large documentary for Latvian television documenting influencers, which came to the conclusion where I interviewed several experts on safety, and while following and documenting those influencers in Latvia, after that I watched, there was a similar documentary in Denmark, and the problems were the same. The literacy, the media literacy, the safety literacy were really, really low. Starting from the point where even parents don't know, you shouldn't, take pictures of your home or vacation showing what kind of devices are at your home, and that you're now in Egypt and anyone can break down, until some very important security cases. So I was surprised documenting all those kind of famous influencers, their families and experts, and seeing that this media and security literacy is so low. Well, at least in Latvia and in Denmark, when I saw in this documentary, it was quite shocking for me. And the experts confirmed that. It's a worldwide trend. And the big question you already started is about how we can educate people on this issue. Maybe, I don't know, CERT could have their opinion, because you deal with these questions and you see what young people and companies are doing. Maybe there is something you could get.
Well, I think that we started to talk about this triangle: people, business, and state, and who's doing what. So, I mean, it's a joint effort. And if previously a lot of stress was on the individual, that individual has to educate himself, that he has to act responsibly, that he needs to understand all the trends. I mean, the technical trends are moving so fast, nobody can, in his ordinary life, can catch up. So I think on a personal level, everybody is more responsible on controlling the information that he provides about himself. Exactly what you were talking about, that not putting too much information on the web, not understanding that this information that's put on the web can be used against him. The companies, on the other hand, they have obligation to make a secure products, not put on the market products that are inferior, that have multiple vulnerabilities, because a lot of people would depend on them and they would not be able to kind of do something with that. They would depend on the companies. And I think the government and what we heard on the EU level, we need to regulate it. Regulate some aspects that are important for the whole of society. So in that respect, I would pretty much compare that to the traffic, when everybody has to be responsible of responsibly participating in the traffic. Then the manufacturers of the cars, they are responsible for making the cars technically sound and safe. And then the state is regulated, make regulations for everybody, for all the traffic participants to cohabitate and be able to safely move around.
And actually, with this war thing coming up, I think the safety is even more important, and I think lots of people are talking about it now, sharing the information. Also, this event is not online because it's part of the safety. But how to achieve the base security knowledge? I mean, yes, we need to work together and create this traffic and knowledge, but I mean, what could be maybe some ideas? Maybe you have some ideas how to, I don't know, I'm a media, I'm a journalist, so I'm kind of in this between where we should bring this information and we try as much as we can making documentaries and telling that online, but...
I mean, yeah, we have traditional influencers, but I see there's also increase of cybersecurity influencers. There are people on YouTube making educational videos, introducing, explaining threats, technologies, how to secure yourself. So there's there's a lot of now content being available, and we have cybersecurity influencers globally. But again, if you don't care about about nothing, you will not find that information. So it would be like force feeding someone. You have to learn or know something. So as long as this topic does not touch you, I mean, there's not much we can do, I would say. And what was already mentioned about the data that we leave, when someone asks me, so how do I protect my data? So I usually give them one word of advice. Any data that you put anywhere, consider it as a breached. You don't have to think, how much or how little you have to add. Whatever you provide somewhere, whatever you input.
On device, anywhere,
Anywhere, any device, any website, consider your data as being breached. It will not happen soon maybe, but just this concept of thinking that whatever data I provide somewhere else, I have to take it as, this is something that I'm giving away, because when we're having these breaches, this information breach, from you as a person, something was stolen, but you don't feel as being robbed because it's not something that you physically touch. Information is, abstract thing. So that's why maybe we do not put that much effort into thinking whether this information is valuable. Maybe we should not share so much things, because when this happens, we feel kind of robbed, but again, some people just, don't care. So the word of the advice is just, think of your information as being breached, whatever you provide.
The funny thing is, whenever I purchase a new item, let's say a washing machine or whatever, they offer you this application that you can connect to your phone. And I think nowadays every item that you purchase comes with this information that you put on your phone with the application. And I'm just simply tired of installing new programs. I don't have enough space on my phone. But it's funny how, yes, this information from every source that is given is coming in with I don't know, with the very simple things as a washing machine, for example. But yes, you wanted to add something.
Well, luckily, a washing machine still operates without an application, and it's your choice to put it on or not. Maybe in a not so far future that won't be an option anymore. But going one step back, of course, it's a joint effort. Of course, so far, a lot of stress has been on an individual, and I must admit, cybersecurity is hard. It's not easy to explain all the concepts to a person, especially if they are not extremely interested. How to poke this interest, how to raise it. Unfortunately, the best motivator is a negative experience. If person suffers from a cyber incident, if they lose data, if they lose access to their beloved social networks or money or whatever, they are much more interested suddenly on cybersecurity. What should I be doing with my device? What did go wrong? Why did this happen? So, of course, we do not want everyone to suffer incidents to learn. That's why all of us work hard to spread the stories also to those that haven't suffered, but still, unfortunately, we see that as a trend. And the basic things that we are asked very often what to do, what not to do, I'm not going to list them here, they all more or less boil down to the critical thinking. You need critical thinking. You need to be able to evaluate if this is a realistic proposal, if this is a real website. and that's very hard to teach, very hard to learn if you don't have it.
Actually, every discussion I have or any issue, it comes to the critical thinking and school. And always in this, wrap up, I need to mention that, but it's funny how the critical thinking, it works in every
Everywhere,
field. Either
indeed.
it's biology, climate, or chemistry, whatever. It always comes to this. Sorry, but you wanted to mention something.
Yeah, just give you live examples. So we conveyed a survey, and I think some partners also, they kind of repeat it from time to time, but nothing new. That half of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia people using mobile phone didn't change password ever. Half.
How many percent?
Half.
Half.
Simply half. Yeah. And then, sometimes we're also educating market. I also go sometimes to school to teach kids about how to be safe on web, on internet, on mobile device. And you say that one social network is really not safe. And we talk about this for 5 years. Only now, there is global state, European level,
yes.
talks about how to actually prohibit it. But we were talking about this, many years ago. And then kids say, that, yeah, I know it's not safe because my account was blocked. Someone stole it. My pet's account also was then cancelled. How can I retrieve it, They do not think that it's not safe. Because, as you say, they don't experience any damage yet. So this is a part of, education that we must, all these triangle parties do, every day.
Yes, I was thinking more of those links that people are still, adults, very famous influencers. For example, Latvia, they're still losing their account just by clicking on the links. And I was also thinking, we've been talking about not clicking on the links forever now, I think. And during pandemics, I felt that people's knowledge on cybersecurity has grown. But no, I still see that people are trying to get back their accounts because they clicked on something. And of course, they are becoming more and more advanced, and which is interesting, they're also sending messages in a really good Latvian language. Maybe it's artificial intelligence, I don't know. But recently, myself, I've received many messages that seemed legit, from legit people in a very good Latvian, because usually it was in English, so you don't click on it because it's a scam. But nowadays, it's really advanced, but still, you don't click on the links, but people do. It's a new fact about the passwords. Thank you for that. Christian, would you mention something, European level, how to educate? We always throw this to the schools and critical thinking, but maybe you have ideas. I never knew that there are influencers of cyber security, even though you need to know the source as well. There might be some scams with that. So it's very tricky, but maybe there are some good examples in other member states, or maybe in similar conferences you've heard some innovative solutions.
Yeah, there are good examples out there. I think responsible organisations will always test the awareness of their colleagues. You can run sort of simulated phishing campaigns and see how many people click, and then use that as the basis to intervene and do an awareness raising campaign. It's something that we've been doing in the Commission, and it's delivering results. It's funny. I was talking to Baiba about something on Twitter yesterday. There was a AI generated pizza advert. You should have a look at it. It's very funny. But it's slightly, it kind of looks okay, and then but it doesn't. And I don't think that's about training or critical thought. I think human beings are naturally capable of seeing something that doesn't appear correct. So you can tell when someone is imitating someone that that it isn't really them. So I think it's simply a question of just paying attention and not. I think there's also a couple more thoughts. So there's an issue of I'm a parent, and the kids are getting to the age where they want to get, you know, a phone and get on apps and so on. And, you know, it's amazing. Like our oldest is 10, and all of her friends already have phones, and they're all on Snapchat and WhatsApp. And our answer has been, no, you can't have it because it's actually against the terms of use. There's a minimum age requirement, but most parents, you know, they clearly don't enforce that. That is a problem. And then the other thought I mentioned earlier about the efforts that the EU is making to try to build up cyber skills, and in particular to address the shocking gender imbalance in cybersecurity. So like it's crazy that only 20% of ICT professionals are women. And I often ask myself, you know, if you have had a more diverse profile, more representative profile in this industry, then perhaps, you know, the problems that we're talking about would be a lot smaller.
That's a very interesting thought. In Latvia, it's even less. I think it was 10% in Latvia, in the industry. At least it was.
In IT, I believe it's much more. Maybe
some
in
years ago,
cybersecurity, but in IT industry, I think we have a very good percentage of women represented.
In security, I think, yeah. Thank you. Yes, you wanted to mention something?
No, all okay. I like your example about kids, and you know, still I think that how to say, kids are also consumers, you know, and of course this is again education should be starting from end point and customer, you know, level, and that's why I think this triangle should work even more, like, you know, closely. We as a company always do everything super safe and super kind of consumer-minded. We always test the consumer journey, but as you say, really the critical thinking should be at this end point. So that's why I hope that one day in, you know, education point, we also will talk about the security more in classes. You know, you have IT classes already. I don't know how many security-based classes you have in IT, you know, topic. So this is also a good question.
I think that starts with the kindergarten, because they start using tablets, sometimes big screens also in kindergarten, where they see even the teacher using WhatsApp or video calls nowadays. So I assume it starts even earlier than that, this security telling about where the pictures come from, or should you allow to take a picture of yourself while you are in playground, for example. Well, the traditional media, like, for example, Latvian television, we need to sign every photo where the children are seen, but, you know, when everyone has a camera, it's so much different. I remember, like, 10 years ago, if you go to Jakarta Music Festival, and there was, like, big stars, you have to sign everything, and, you know, coming with the camera. Nowadays, everyone is taking picture with the phones. No one is signing any agreement, so times have changed a lot. So no one can, you know, spare any information or music sounds. I see that stage number 2 has joined us. We have a discussion on cyber security, and we have already talked most of the questions, but maybe there are some comments or questions from the audience. We have an amazing group of experts, and before we end, I would like to allow the audience to ask or comment on anything about the cyber security. Yes, here. Please introduce yourself, and if you have a question addressed to someone special, please tell me that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. My name is Edward, and I work in cybersecurity. And this is the rare chance I have to address 2 CERT representatives and the representative from European Commission. So my question was about the NIS2 directive and the framework. How does it all comes together in terms of, like, specific scenarios or incidents? So basically, because I have an understanding how this SOC works, and I know of the effort which needs to be put by the organization to have all the cogs working together to triage and investigate the incident, right? And now we are talking about the cross-border cooperation. So how agile are the institutions? How agile are the cross-border SOCs? So let's take an example of hospital in one of the EU countries being under the DDoS, right? So what are the steps of that country's CERT? What is the assistance of the European Commission institution in this case? So could you please share just some insights? How does it all work? Thanks.
Yes.
Well, I can
Bible
just jump
was
in and say,
yes.
well, if it's a DDoS, it's the business as usual. No cross-border incident. No need to escalate. Just get some protection and case closed. or if it's a really bad one, put on geolocation for some time and then case closed. But of course, speaking more seriously, the incidents that are discussed as cross-border or as having a broader impact, in many respects, they are more, let's say, what we are thinking they might be, but there are not so many instances that are happening, luckily. So, you know, there is this threshold that needs to be reported at the as NIS directive incident, and not so many have happened. Hopefully, not so many will. But of course, the effort is to have very good cooperation among CSIRTs in EU countries, as well as in the coordination and policy level. And then I'm sure you will tell more about that. But for a CSIRT side, we know each other, we know how to reach each other, so if there is a need to get in touch, to pass contact information, that can happen instantly with different channels. And I'm sure, well, I know that it happens on a regular basis for different incidents that are not classified at the NIS level. But I think that the understanding really must be improved in all, let's say, communities, what incidents are in this category, which are not, etc., etc. But I'm sure you want to elaborate more.
Yes.
Well, I can only add, so when you build these cross-border relations, so first of all, you need to look into have a prediction what can happen. So cyber threat intelligence would be number one topic we would need to cooperate. And this is basically also largely the idea behind this regional SOCs. Lithuania, among with other Nordic Baltic countries, now are building this kind of a cyber threat intelligence capability and trying to predict what can happen. And for the, as I call post-mortem, when already incident happened, so we have quite a good instrument as CSIRT network, where we can share our findings and show how exactly the attack was carried out, so others can learn from our experience. But I think what triggers mostly this intergovernmental SOCs or regional SOCs is that most infrastructure is dispersed throughout the countries. For example, a lot of Scandinavian banks operate in all three Baltic countries, with the infrastructure being in one part of infrastructure in one country, the other part in the other. So we definitely need to see threat intelligence reports to predict how they can affect and what spillover effects can have incident, for example, in Estonia for the customers in Lithuania. And we would be mostly first of all focused on that. Thank you.
Our time is running out, unfortunately. I'm really happy to have these amazing experts on this stage. Thank you, Baiba, Jonas, Christian, Vaidis, and Audris for joining us. We still have non-formal part where you can ask your questions while these excellent people of cybersecurity and other questions are here. Thank you so much. We'd like to thank you with a round of applause.